Hello, I'm Jayne Lehmann from DE at Connect, and I'd like to welcome you to the first of our interviews of people who are active in diabetes education and helping us to get to the heart of grassroots diabetes education. I'd like to introduce you to Kirrily Chambers, who is with me today to talk about the recent announcement of Kirrily as a co-winner of CDE of the Year. She was awarded this honour with Anne Morris from Victoria. And Kirrily, welcome. It's lovely to have you here.
Hi Jayne, how are you going?
Lovely to see you. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
What an amazing experience.
Yes, it was a real honour to be awarded for something that I love to do, and I love turning up every day to my job.
So you were sitting in the audience at the Gold Coast conference?
Yes.
And they're announcing it. They say the name Kirrily Chambers. What were you thinking?
I was amazed and actually very honoured. So, like I said, I love my job. It was great to be awarded for such a prestigious award.
Yes.
I feel very honoured.
Very exciting.
Very exciting, yes.
So I did actually make the suggestion that there should be a tiara that comes along with the award.
I don't know that I'd like to turn up to work in that, but
no, but it's just something for the ADA maybe to consider for next year, a little tiara.
yes.
So, how has it gone for you since? Have there been much recognition?
Yeah, there has been a little bit. Yeah, so I've had a couple of interviews, and of course today.
Yes.
Yep. To talk to people. I've been the first Pharmacist CDE to be awarded, and I was the first Pharmacist CDE to get to the point where it was a so both Pharmacists and CDE, so in Australia. So there has been a little bit of work involved to get to this point.
So you actually you were the first Pharmacist CDE.
Yes.
And
right.
I imagine being the first of anything would bring with it some ups and downs.
Yes,
what was the journey like getting to that point?
So there was some challenges. Unfortunately, when I went through the course and did the diabetes educating, pharmacists weren't allowed to be credentialed diabetes educators to start.
Really?
Yes, so then I challenged them as to why pharmacists weren't allowed to be credentialed educators, and I was told then that we could become them, but we had to be home medication accredited, so we had to do an extra course in, ironically, medication, which pharmacists are already accredited to do, so we had to go on to do an extra accreditation. But, getting through all of that, I went on to then become a credentialed educator.
So initially you had to do your pharmacy degree.
Yes.
And then do the home medication review certificate
Yes.
or course that you have to
which
do.
is a year. Yes.
And then the CDE
yes.
credentialing on top of that.
Yes. So there's quite a lot of paths that you have to get down first.
Yeah.
So
is that still the same? Do you still have to?
No, so that has been changed now. We don't have to be accredited pharmacists. We only have to be pharmacists and then go on to do the credentialing. So it's a little bit easier for pharmacists to go on to do that. So
yes.
Yeah, it's a bit ironic, but that's
so
okay.
You literally led the way as the first Pharmacist CDE.
Yes.
I imagine you have become a place that other pharmacists, like a person that a lot of other pharmacists come and talk to.
Yes.
About the whole area of diabetes education and credentialing.
Yes, so I do mentor a lot of pharmacists. And I find it interesting that one of the first questions they ask is, how did you do it? Because I had no one else to ask. So
No.
I did have a lot of support though. I joined Diabetes SA for 3 or 4 years and had a great partnership and
as a position, like working.
Yes, as an
at
educator.
DSA. Yeah.
Yes, and an educator and a pharmacist. So I had an enormous allied health care team that supported me through that transition period. So
And that gave you the chance to get the hours up.
Yes.
Which would have been the longer.
It was 1,800 hours of work experience.
Whereas
but again,
now it's 1,000.
Yes.
Yes.
But again, I don't resent that, because I think that gave me a really good grounding to therefore go out and do private practice.
Yes. Yes.
I would be a little bit worried if I'm only doing 1,000 hours now. So
Yeah, it's interesting,
hours
isn't it? Yeah. So, what kind of? Can you describe or paint a word picture of the sort of environment in which you're working within a community pharmacy as a diabetes educator.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because, I've had feedback from GPs and also from an endocrinologist that they didn't realise that I had my own clinic rooms. We've built clinic rooms in 3 of the pharmacies. So we don't just do it on the floor, which again, is easy for me to say because I would never consider doing that. But I guess it's not something that if you don't see the clinic room. So we have all the things that other educators have. We have tables and chairs, comfortable chairs for people to sit in, and a computer and all the things that other educators have in the rooms.
Yes.
So they're not enormous. They're probably smaller than another educator's room, but we have enough room for someone plus their significant other if they wish to bring someone.
Yes.
And myself to be comfortable in.
Yeah. So you probably have the advantage as well in some ways of not having all the clutter.
Yes.
That when you walk into a diabetes educator's room, when you're teaching someone, you actually want the focus to be on that interaction.
Yes.
So at times our rooms can actually have too much competing information that you'll see people really distracted. So
I don't have the room for competing.
No, so it's actually a significant advantage. And so having that extra diabetes care knowledge, when you're working as a pharmacist, I imagine that knowledge just comes in so helpfully with the way you interact with people with diabetes.
It's really interesting because having that extra grounding of pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics, particularly with how the insulins work, makes it really, I can't speak for how other educators work, but it makes it helpful for me to know and understand how the medications work, not just from a diabetes perspective, but as we know, people with diabetes get so much other medication, so they end up with stuff for their blood pressure, stuff for their cholesterol. A lot of the time they don't understand why they're taking it. So having that extra knowledge. And I do remember a time, ironically, it was because I went out to do her home medication review. Lovely little old lady, and I asked her, which I don't normally do at that age, if she was getting anything over the internet. And she brought out 2 shopping baskets full of medication that she bought over the internet. All natural stuff, as she called it. And I said to her, do you take this stuff all at the same time? And she said, no dear, this basket I take Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, and this basket I take Saturdays and Sundays. So again, having the ability to understand that there's all this other medication.
Wouldn't it be interesting to know how she decided which bags things went into, whether there was a plan to it or was it random?
It seemed quite random to me, but she knew exactly what she was taking when, but of course it was increasing her potassium levels and she was on a potassium-sparing diuretic, so immediately that was affecting her heart arrhythmias. So
having that knowledge actually helped you do probably a better home medication review.
Yes.
But that whole area of complementary medicine is so important for us to always ask that question, not make assumptions that someone who's a bit older may not be doing that, and just how accessible things are on the internet now, it becomes really important to ask questions like that.
Yes, I mean, they reckon the research is that about 85% of people will have CAMs, which is complementary alternative medication, and they won't tell their doctor or some of their allied healthcare team because they think it's natural and therefore it's not worthy of being mentioned. So it's really interesting.
When you add that into the number of medications, the average number of medications for someone with diabetes would be, 4, 5, 6?
Yeah, the average they reckon is 6, but they start dropping after 5. So it doesn't matter how many you prescribe, they won't take more than about 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a careful history is medication history. So if I was going to ask you for 3 bits of advice, we've just had one there with the complementary medicines and need for a thorough history and making no assumptions. What would be 2 other things you'd share with a diabetes educator just starting out,
So the other one that I'm very passionate about and is written on my biography on the website is language. Language is very important because it can affect a person's well-being and mental health. So things like the words control and test, and obviously not labelling someone by disease state, person first, disease state second, very, very important.
So we're, not saying the diabetic who has come in for a meter, or you know, how's your blood testing? How's your blood test?
Yes, yeah, and how's your control? Like I see all the time poor control. You know, that those words would indicate that the person isn't doing everything that they can, and sometimes that is the case, but doesn't mean that they need to have that point labelled.
No. So that labelling of someone as being the cause,
correct,
is what we can sometimes inadvertently do with the language we choose to use.
Yes.
That's
so important.
Yeah.
So language is a big one, and again, it's sometimes the assumptions. So the assumptions that people know about their disease state, they've often looked it up on Google, which we all do.
And there's there's a lot of good information.
Correct.
On the internet as well, as that can be misleading.
Yes.
So it's not always bad, but finding out.
Yes, finding out what they know and also what their fears are, because everyone is fearful of something. But it can be very helpful to know what their agenda is, because sometimes we have agendas that we then bring into the education session as well. So just all of those things.
So person-centred is the catch cry at the moment.
Yes.
Not making assumptions and ensuring that the language that we use is not going to make someone feel worse.
Correct.
Basically. Yes. And setting up a positive environment by doing those things.
Yes.
So if I asked you what is going to be one of the, a challenge in the coming 12 months, what would you say in the area of diabetes care and education?
For me, probably one of the challenges is going to be to build my business much further than what I've done. I'd really like to get into insulin pump therapy a lot more. Again, it's an area that is misunderstood. People with don't choose that as a lifestyle. It's forced upon them because they've got mismanaged diabetes, if you like, so they don't get to choose that. So that's the area that I really want to grow, and it's the area that I really want to make or the public more aware of. Yeah. So that they have a choice. They have a choice as to whether, both with type 1 or type 2, they want to use needles or they want to use insulin pump therapy as a management of their diabetes. That's
so
where I want to go.
Making sure that they actually get the accurate information and making informed choices. Yeah. So working within community pharmacy, National Diabetes Services Scheme.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about some of the implications of the restrictions to blood glucose monitoring strips for people who aren't on insulin that comes into effect partially 1st of July 2016, but fully after 1st of January 2017?
Yes.
How's it going to be for community pharmacies?
I guess the problem with community pharmacies a lot is that, again, they don't understand. They don't understand that mostly it's a 6-month restriction after they've activated the first of the supply.
After 1st of July.
Yes.
So the first purchase after the 1st of July 2016 marks the beginning of their 6-month period.
Correct.
And then the restrictions start from that end of the 6 months.
Yes. But most pharmacists that I've spoken to think that 6 months supply is per year. So they don't actually understand that that's not the case. And most health professionals that I've spoken to don't actually understand where they can then go to get that person if they need, and how they can go about that to get the extra help or the extra supply.
So the assessment for clinical need is confusing.
Very confusing, yes.
I don't think it was helped by some of the letters that came out, especially initially, have not highlighted that it's credentialed diabetes educators, nurse practitioners, as well as GPs who can assess for clinical need.
Correct. So
my sense is that the pharmacist at the bench is particularly the pharmacy assistants are going to bear the brunt of that flow in 2017.
Correct. Yeah.
And
regular education.
Yes.
as to how to then redirect. You know, I've had phone calls from GPs asking me, do they just need to send a letter? And even a letter won't be enough, unfortunately.
No,
because
there's
that
actually a form.
needs to be filled out.
Yes, which is also going to create, I guess, an opportunity for credentialed diabetes educators to get in touch with their community pharmacies in the local area,
Yes.
perhaps, and start to have conversations where you can build up that broader team response around these changes to make it better for people with diabetes that we're seeing. I guess the other advantage of that, of course, is that the more someone in a pharmacy gets used to talking to a credentialed diabetes educator, they're more likely to recommend them as a person who could help someone.
Yes.
So
very much so, breaking down those barriers.
Yeah, and developing that broader sense of team.
Yes.
To see some, reinforcement of the same messages, I imagine.
Yes. Yeah. Because quite often the pharmacist is a first point of call when there's no other allied health professional at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night. And then that communication doesn't then flow on. So, pharmacists traditionally have not been the ones that have then forwarded information on. We're very poor in that skill, and we've been taught to upskill. So again, it's a two-way street. We need to start doing that a lot more.
Yeah, so making it easy with email contact.
Yes.
To get in contact, and if people have a look on the DE Connect website, www.edhealth.com.au, there is actually a resource there that we designed for the session that I did with Ros Sklavos.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we put together something that helps both pharmacists and diabetes educators network with each other. So if you have a look on the DE at Connect part of the website, and then under ADS ADA Annual Scientific Meeting 2016, you will find that resource there. The other thing I've got there are an example of the letter that I've used to send to the local doctors.
Yep.
About the changes, highlighting that I can do the signing as well, so that they don't feel they need to do it all. And also one for people with diabetes, just explaining it. So that's there as a template that people can use that as well, just to get things proactively. If we pave the way, we can turn this into a really positive around using structured blood glucose monitoring as a big part of that clinical need.
So important.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, to conclude, it's been very, very interesting hearing your insights into the role of the CDE pharmacist, and I'm sure that the number of people who are joining the ranks of yourself and others is going to swell in time. So congratulations on the work you did in order to actually win the CDE of the year for 2016. To finish up, I thought we'd play a bit of a word association game.
Okay, great.
And so what I'm going to do is read out some words and just come back with whatever is front of mind.
Okay.
So let's get started. Diabetes.
Me.
Community pharmacy.
NDSS.
NDSS.
Support.
So click the like button if you liked what you saw. Subscribe if you'd like to see more, and catch up with more of the information at www.edhealth.com.au and click on the tab with DE at Connect. What you'll find there is lots of other resources to help shine a light on grassroots diabetes education. So that's all from me for now, Jayne Lehmann. See you soon.